Well, it's September and it has finally cooled down enough. It's about time to start working on the Desperado again. I'll give you guys a recap. The Desperado is the crab boat that I bought last August that got vandalized immediately, literally 6 hours after I bought it, and basically had to tear it apart. And we ended up not planning on it, but we did end up basically starting a full-on restoration on this boat. As you know, with boats, once you get in there, you kind of find it needs pretty much everything and then some. So we went to fix the floor, realized the entire floor was basically rotten, 80% of it. So we tore all that out. The engine ended up needing to be rebuilt. So I got the engine rebuilt. We had to put all new stringers in the entire boat. This is 42 feet of boat, by the way. That took us basically all winter. So Riley and I worked on this thing every day, pretty much all last winter. And it took us that long to gut the entire boat, sand and prep all the fiberglass, tear out the old stringers, tear out the engine, literally gut it to nothing, start to rebuild it. It basically took us all winter just to put stringers in this thing. So as of right now, we have brand new stringers in it. Our stringers are notched. We have our deck beaming mocked up. We also have new fuel tanks, new hydraulic tanks. The engine is in, but it needs new bedding. That's basically it. We have our wall of lists, things that need to get done on this boat, including the entire cabin, needs all new windows, needs painted on the outside. We have a very, very, very long way to go. And I appreciate your guys' patience with this project. You know, I've been very busy crabbing this summer. That's my busy time to crab. We're crabbing Monday through Friday, and then we are selling crabs Saturdays and Sundays. Plus we were also shooting videos all week and making that whole deal go. So we've not had a lot of time to work on the Desperado, but I know we get a lot of questions about it. People are very anxious to see this project. Trust me, I'm anxious to work on it myself, but it's also just been brutally hot this summer. We have the entire boat wrapped in plastic wrap, absolute sauna in here, over 115 degrees some days. I did not work on it much this summer, admittedly. Since the weather's cooled down a little bit, crabbing's starting to slow down a little bit, I'd like to get back into it and start making a little progress here. So one of the first things I want to get doing, bedding these fuel tanks. All right, our friends at Patriot Marine hooked us up with these brand new fuel tanks and hydraulic tanks, custom made for the Desperado, and I need to be able to mount them before I can stick the deck beaming down, because then we won't be able to get them out or get to them without cutting up the deck beaming, and I'm really not trying to do that. So the fuel tanks lay here. As you can see, the bottom of the boat has contour. So basically I need to figure out how to make this a flat surface so we have more surface area, spread the weight of the tank out, and the tank can lay flat. There's a couple things to this though. Water needs to be able to pass all the way through, so there's gonna have to be some like holes, weep holes or something in all these pieces. I'm probably gonna use this 3/4 inch cusa board and make a bunch of pieces that go across and then figure out something to go over top. I think I need to make a template because that's gonna be the easiest way to do this, you know, without a bunch of precision tools that I don't have. Basically, I think I'm gonna get a piece of styrofoam and try to make a styrofoam template, see how many of these it fits, cut a bunch out of cusa. We're gonna have to grind and prep this, glass them into place, and then figure out the next steps. This will be worth having a sharp blade for. All right, we're gonna try to make templates out of this. All right, we're back in the bilge of the boat. I am just winging it, trying to figure it out, which is about all you can do sometimes. All right, and the reason I'm using styrofoam is because it's very easy to work with. I can cut it with a box cutter and whatever else. All right, now that we have this piece, it's a little tricky. I gotta figure out a way to measure this, and I think I may have a tool to do this. If not, I can make a tool to do this. All right, I got this, which is kind of the right tool, sort of. That can kind of match the angle. There's a little bit of discrepancy right there, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that, but that's the idea. Transfer that angle onto here, cut this out, see if it fits. All right, made a template, a little sanding and massaging. That fits pretty well. It fits well enough that I'm gonna be able to cut a bunch of them and kind of massage them to fit. I need about 9 of them, I think. So I'm gonna go drag out a piece of cusa board, get these laid out, and start cutting. You know what? I'm actually just gonna cut a couple and make sure it actually fits before I go cut all 9. Definitely cut that other piece first. right, let's see if this fits. All right, I tested it and it's not perfect, but it's gonna be close enough that we can kind of massage them into wherever they gotta go. All right, the other thing I gotta do is cut like a semicircle out of these so when they're in there, water is able to pass. I'm gonna try to make a little jig and punch them out with this hole saw, so I don't have to sit there with a jigsaw the whole time. So we'll see how that goes. It don't have to be perfect, but I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna try it. Off to a good start. Oh, not bad. That looks pretty good, actually. Nice, nice. Nice. Better, it worked better than expected, which is rare. Very rare. All right. I'm gonna kind of lay out where these things are gonna go. I have 9 of them. Foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. You get the idea. Thing is with fiberglass is you have to think like 10 steps ahead. I think I'm gonna prep the surface first and then prep these to fit. Because if I prep the surface, it's gonna change the way these fit a little bit. So I'm gonna try to not shoot myself in the foot here. As I've done on many other things in this project, that means Tyvek suit and sanding, which sucks. But as fiberglass work for you, the way it goes. I'm just sitting here thinking through every step it's gonna take to mount these in here and like, whew, that's a lot. Quite a bit of work. All right, let's get to it. All right, going in.
Well, that's basically it for the next couple hours, so 8 more.
All right, I did pretty much all the sanding for right now. Prep the surface. By the way, it's very hot in here. It's definitely cooler outside, still very hot in here. As you can see, this is where those things will sit, and I'm gonna start getting them in here and shaping them with the hard pad to kind of fit in these spots.
You get the point.
All right, this is what we got. So I'm trying to figure out the next step. I think we're gonna take these all out and hot coat each piece of this in resin, and then think about trying to stick them to the bottom of the boat. That drum of resin is done. I used all of it just to do the stringers. 55 gallons of resin just to do the stringers. I have this new drum of resin that I hope is still good, and I have had terrible luck with those hand crank pumps. I'm wondering if there's something I can build, or I can set this on its side and just open a spout. The other day, I was working on this and I got stuck because I needed to get resin out of my drum here, but I didn't have a resin pump. My other one was broken. I ordered another one on Amazon, and it's a supreme piece of crap, is what it looks like, and will not keep anything dry whatsoever. Water will run right down that thing and into the resin, which I do not want because this stuff is very expensive. So what I'm doing now is I'm gonna try to build a small covering structure out here to keep my resin and other things that I can have outside that I don't want to get rained on, especially for the winter with the snow and whatever else. So I think I'm actually going to use the engine box and just flip it upside down and put 4 legs on it and set it here over top of my resin so that I have this area, and then, you know, other things that I want, air compressor, whatever, when we're using it. If the weather's bad, I can have it underneath underneath this little structure without it getting wet. I know this isn't like going towards building, you know, it's not like a part of the boat that I'm building, but it's necessary to build the boat. And I'm showing you guys everything that goes into redoing a boat like this, you know. And this is part of the reason also things take so long, is because we have to build everything. We're working outside, working against the elements, we're working with what we have and making it work. So I'm just taking you guys along for the whole build, everything involved in it. We can flip this thing and set it on top of this dolly. And I can tilt it up, put 2 legs on it, tilt it up, put 2 legs on it. It's the heaviest freaking, God. It's so heavy. Okay. Well, we'll do it later. Yeah, for now. Okay, okay.
I'll be there forever. How tall are you making?
Well, that's a foot. These are 91 inches, so I figure when it stands up.
They're making time to go overhead.
I was trying to make it so we don't have to duck down to get into it every single time.
You gotta build some sort of crawl space. That's gonna topple right over.
No.
Yes. It's gonna be like a freaking like stanky leg. If you really want to make it stable, it might not be in a perfect height. You can shoot a screw right through the rub rail.
I thought about doing that too, actually. This engine box is like the nicest part about the boat. Very well built. Whoever built the engine box did a really good job.
We can still use it once we're done.
I mean, that's not like crazy tall.
It's the sketchiest thing I've ever seen. It's already working pretty nicely.
Yeah,
Nice.
right?
You need a hard hat.
You shouldn't have to really hold it.
I'm not holding it up. I'm holding it from falling on my head. There's a difference.
Right, I built it. How would it ever fall on your head?
That's twice as scary.
You need a permit for the structure?
If it's not permanent.
Here we have it. Casa de Desperado. All right, quick break from all the horrible fiberglass fumes and financial burden that is the Desperado to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. That is Farmer's Dog. And I'll tell you why I like Farmer's Dog. The main reason is because it's one less thing I have to worry about, to be honest. All you got to do is go on to Farmer's Dog's website and fill out a survey about your dog, like my dog Ember, who's a German Shepherd, and they will put together a meal plan essentially for your dog. And the best part is it comes shipped right to your house, already frozen, pre-packaged, and it's even got your dog's name on it. They also have lots of variety because you don't want to eat the same thing every day, neither does your dog. They have a QR code on here as well, so if you have any kind of questions about this, you just scan it. And I use that because a lot of times the dog is my wife's department, and when I get left alone with the dog, I have to know how much to feed her because I'm more into building boats. But this makes it easy. You want to eat healthy stuff, you also want your dog to eat healthy stuff and live an awesome life. Go to Farmer's Dog or use the QR code or the link and get 10% off your first month of Farmer's Dog and have your dog live a happy, healthy life like Ember. All right, here goes nothing. I'm gonna try to remember how to mix this properly and hopefully not screw it all up. It does not take much hardener, but it does not do anything at all with no hardener. So this is just an initial coat of resin, polyurethane. I'm putting this on the cusa so that it soaks it up, because the cusa is like real porous and it needs to like soak it up, or else when you put polybond or something to it, it'll suck the resin out of the polybond and it won't adhere very well. So you gotta kind of, we call it hot coating. It also essentially turns this piece of cusa into, you know, a hardened piece of fiberglass, because the cusa itself doesn't have a lot of strength to it. But if you soak it up with resin, it's as strong as glass, fiberglass. And once you mix the hardener, you only have a certain amount of time before this stuff kicks off and becomes useless. So you gotta act pretty quick. I should probably just do the tops and then do all the sides, because that's gonna take the longest. If I gotta mix up another batch, it is what it is. People are always asking, like, why isn't the boat done already, this and that? Well, not to mention the fact that I've been crabbing and shooting video and doing everything else all summer, plus running a crab stand and coming out with a merch brand and a million different things. everything just takes a long time. And as you can see, we're not exactly working in ideal conditions. So the conditions are not like super ideal. It's like if you want a spot to work, you gotta make a spot to work. That kind of stuff, you know? It's all stuff that takes time. I got the first coat on the first thing, and then I will probably try to just flip these things around, do the other sides, and then maybe I'll try to do the sides and then the other sides. I don't know yet. But that was pretty much perfect 16 ounces of resin it took, so. If you're fiberglassing, you're gonna go through a lot of brushes and a lot of gloves. All right, everything is coated on all corners, all sides, and the fumes in here are pretty gnarly. So I'm gonna probably get out of here and try to mix up some polybond while I'm working on this. All right, so what I'm gonna try to do now is basically make my own polybond. So polybond is this like putty stuff that we use to stick everything together on this boat, basically. So all the pieces I have here are all gonna be stuck together with polybond, because like I said, this stuff does not take fasteners very well. It's basically like the consistency of peanut butter, and then when you mix hardener into it, it turns into fiberglass resin peanut butter, essentially. We have been buying polybond by the 5-gallon pail, but it's very expensive and it's kind of hard to get. So I'm pretty sure I can just make my own with mixing resin with no hardener plus Cavasil, which I honestly don't even know what Cavasil is. I guess it's like fiberglass powder dust or something, but it's what you mix in there to make it thick. I don't have any idea how to do this, so I'm just going to start experimenting with like different quantities of resin to Cavasil and hopefully try to figure out a formula that kind of works. But yeah, it's just going to take some playing with, so I guess it would work. In theory it works. We'll try it. The Cavasil is like super light powdery, so I don't want to inhale it. I can't imagine it's good for you. So I'm just going to start experimenting. I'm going to start with like 1 or 2 of these full. I guess I'm just going to start with 1 and see where that goes. Ooh, very powdery. See, it's like super light stuff. And I'll tell you, it's a pain to mix. I may end up getting something with a drill. See how it's gotten a little bit thicker? We need it like 2 or 3 times thicker than that. We'll add another one, see what consistency we get out of that. Looking a lot better now. If it was 1 to 1, that would really be nice. See, that's pretty much what we're looking for, actually. That's pretty good. I like that. It's a little more gelatinous than I was expecting it to be. I like it. That's looking pretty good, actually. So I mixed up polybond, and then I also mixed hardener with Cavasil in an equal amount, because this is diluted with Cavasil, so the hardener ratio would be off unless you mix it an equal amount with hardener and Cavasil, I think. So I'm doing a little bit of an experiment here. This is kind of what it'll be like in there. You just use a spoon and make what they call fillet, just like that. And I'm just testing it before I go to stick these in the boat, because I just don't want to do all this and then have it not work or something for some reason. So we are now currently watching paint dry, essentially. Hopefully this sets up. That'd be really nice if it works. All right, so I got the area pretty well swept. I gotta clean everything pretty well with acetone, so I'm just wiping down the surface. Hopefully by this time my polybond is set and I know that it actually does work. Then we'll start laying them in here and then putting glass over top. Hopefully I can get all that done today. We'll see. Sorry, acetone's getting in my head. I'll probably also need to make up some more polybond, but I'm just trying to make sure my polybond's gonna work before I make more. All right, so this is another reason why all this stuff takes like forever, because I keep thinking of things I want to do, and then it takes you a whole day to do it. So, for example, this is a sealed compartment in the boat, right? This is where the fuel and the hydraulic will stay. In a perfect world, the fuel tank never leaks, hydraulic tank never leaks, nothing ever spills, nothing ever works its way down into here. We never have to clean it, we could seal it up, and it would be fine forever. Well, I'm saying that that's probably not likely. And what I'm wondering about doing is putting a piece of fiberglass pipe in between this bulkhead and that bulkhead, because this is also a sealed engine compartment, and that's so if the engine leaks fluids, it doesn't run into the bilge and get pumped overboard. And if this compartment starts to leak, there's no real way to get rid of the stuff that's under that's leaking or whatever. So if I put a piece of fiberglass pipe in between this strong back and then have a plug back there, that would allow me to be able to pull that plug and drain this compartment if I had to. I don't know if it's worth doing. Maybe there's a simpler solution. I did find this piece of fiberglass, like it's some kind of pole. It's kind of an oblong shape, which is not very helpful, but that might work. I don't know. I'm debating on cutting a hole and bridging the gap and then sticking a plug in the back there. All right, so I want to put a layer of glass on each side of these stringers. So I'm going to pre-cut all my templates here and hope it works out. I'm gonna need 18. Hopefully I can do it before it starts to rain. I'm already losing. The wind's blowing them all over the place. So I think I've decided against the piece of pipe for right now. I can always do that later, kind of, but I think it's just gonna be easier to put a hatch forward that gives you access. Also, in other news, my polybond seems to be holding up pretty nicely, actually. It's not totally set, but it is definitely, it's hard. It's in there, it worked. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see if we can do some damage in the boat. All right, I'm going to attempt to film this. Going to take a little bit of finesse. So I'm going to mix up some polybond, find which piece fits, try to stick it in there. And I know that sounds super simple, but timing, I'm telling you, timing is key. I'm going to try to not screw up, not waste the entire day from all the work I put in. So hopefully we can get these things bedded. Sorry, I'm just like kind of out there. A little very long summer and whatever else. I've got a lot of stuff to do. So you have to weigh the polybond to know what ratio to mix it. Since it's not like liquid and you can really measure it like that, you have to weigh it. So got a scale. Once I mix this, the clock is a ticking. Also, if you haven't already, check out goodisused.com. It's my new merch line. We have been working really hard on this for, man, almost a year on making my very own merch line. So we got new drops that come all the time. Yeah, if you're looking for merch and other cool stuff, we got other cool things in the hopper. Check it out, goodisused.com. I'm sure the link will be in the description and you can just Google it too. Appreciate you guys. It's because of you guys that I'm able to make these things happen. And I feel like it's kind of the next leg of my business journey here. So really appreciate the support. It also is helping fund this boat build because this boat build's been incredibly expensive. All right. I need a lot of polybond on this one to basically fill that void in the back. So nothing left to do but do it, I guess. Here we go. Should have made more polybond, I guess. No. All right, moment of truth. Moment of truth. Wow, literally about half the amount that I needed. So this back one is kind of a fluke. Really got to make sure the polybond's mixed really well, or else you'll have sections that don't have hardener and it'll just never really work. Learned some expensive lessons with polybond here in the last year. Tacky. All the rest of them should not take near this much. If they do, there's a problem. But this one in particular just needs a lot. Fill that gap in the back. And it's the first one, so I may screw it up. Oh no! Oh man, that sucks. Oh, please. You gotta be kidding me. How much freaking polybond could this possibly take? The problem with fiberglass also is the more you have, the thicker it is, the faster it kicks off. It starts heating up and then the heat starts to cure all the stuff around it too. So when you have a huge gob of it like this, you really gotta work fast. Oh my gosh, it's getting worse every time, bro. I should have try to take up the space with something else, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. Too much. Not going well so far. Alright, that's much better. Now I'm just using the back of a kitchen spoon to make my fillets. I'm going to squeeze the air out the best I can. Alright, one down. Many more to go. Alright, so this is what we got going. That's my piece. That is the giant void I had to fill in the back. And it's not too bad. It actually looks pretty good. So I'm basically just going to rinse and repeat that 8 more times. So enjoy. Well, I've got most of them in. I got 2 more to go. But they're looking pretty good so far. They're definitely in there. The stuff's starting to kick, so I had to get out of here for a few minutes because the fumes were getting to me. They're pretty solid. And then put some mat over them, which is just not going to be any small feat. That's going to be quite the job, but I don't know. Probably overkill. Well, they're in here. They turned out pretty good, actually. I am not going to have time today to put mat on these. That's a whole nother day project. Per usual, I'm like, oh yeah, get all these things done, and then you do, and you're like, holy crap, that took all day somehow. So I'm going to clean up, and I guess the next job is glassing these into the hull. So upon further analysis, all those pieces I cut, realized A, way overkill, B, gonna take me a week to do that. But also, I think that this is gonna be fine. These things are in there pretty dang good. I think by just putting a little tabbing it into the hull, that's gonna be plenty enough to keep them upright. There's not really a lot of force this way. We're gonna bed the tanks really well. So the tanks are like stuck. They can't really move any way. My only fear would be that these, if something else broke, could fold forward, but there's gonna be runners on top of these that are bedded down, and then the tank's on that, and then the tank's bedded from the top, both sides, like both sides here, and then forward, back, and then on the pieces on the top holding the tanks in. So I don't think that turning these things into giant ribs, essentially more stringers, is gonna be worth it. So I cut all these pieces, and I'm gonna try to hit this with acetone and then wet it out. All right, got everything acetone. I'm gonna attempt to mix up some resin, lay some of this stuff in here. Really, it'd be nice to wet these pieces out, but I'm gonna try first just wetting them out in place. If that doesn't work, then I'll wet them out on a table, lay them on there. Maybe that's the best thing to do, I don't know. Ooh, I can already smell it.
I have 0 time to mess around with this. Alright, going kind of well so far, I guess. Oh man, almost screwed the pooch.
Alright. Well, it's still hot and miserable in here. I'll show you what I got. I got these ones done. I didn't get that one. But this one, I tried putting it there and then wetting it out when it was on there. And it definitely took more resin, and I didn't like it. There's a couple little air voids. The other ones, honestly, wetting them out and putting them on seemed like it worked a lot better. So I think I'm gonna go with that method for the rest of them. But I know you literally can't even see it anymore, but I think it's gonna help. All right, and I just gotta do the rest of them. I know this is boring, but this is building a boat. Hope I got the mixing ratio right. Guess we'll find out. All right, it's in there. Got very sticky, I suppose, when I was closing myself in on either side. But I got it all in. It's not the absolute best thing I've ever done, but not so bad. Everything that has to do with fiberglass takes a long time, and it looks no different, but it's all necessary. And didn't overestimate on material too bad. Pretty good. The next thing I want to do is put these beams down, figure out how to stick those down, and then I can figure out, I can put my tanks in and figure out where all that stuff's gonna lay. All right, so the next step here for the tank bedding is to put these boards down. So I have 3 of these. This is what the tanks will sit on top of. I need to stick them to the bedding that I just made. So these are all hot coated and resin, and I think what I'm gonna do is pick them up, put some polybond on the tops of each one of these, stick this down, and then make a fillet all the way around, and then get some glass and tab it in on the back and on the fronts here. Then maybe get some little glass strips here if it's necessary, times 3. So I think I'm gonna start with this outer one right here. Just figure it out. I'm just gonna start with acetoning down all these pieces. I'm just gonna go for it. Like I said, part of the thing that's taking so long is that I'm having to figure out what I'm doing and how to build this thing every step of the way. Like, I'm not a CAD guy or whatever. I don't have everything laid out. I'm more of a do it kind of guy. I gotta think about how I'm gonna do it. Polybond, put it on those, put this down, weight it, then put my fillet in.
That looks good. I'm gonna mix up some polybond and let her eat. This is my homemade polybond. Did this correctly.
All right, first one's in. Now we just gotta hurry up and wait. And then I can finish doing the fillet and then lay this other one. Might lay this other one, I'm not sure. All right, now that the polybond's tacked up a little bit, I'm gonna start wetting these pieces of glass out and tabbing it into the stringer. Not sure how that's gonna go, but you know, we're gonna give it a shot. The respirator's falling apart. All right, I'm going in.
Give this one some time to set up. We're good to go. I can't find the roller, so I've been tipping it.
Time to buy another one. I'm sure it's somewhere in here in your messiness.
Yeah.
If we did find the roller, I guarantee it's so locked up you probably can't get it undone.
Probably right.
I can see why I used a whole quart. Got a lot still on top of the glass. It's your final layer, it's not going to hurt nothing, but
I mean, just figure everything's pretty porous still, you know. Cusa, it's just taking a lot.
All right, we got our centerpiece. All the glass is cured. By the way, check out goodasused.com. Help me finish building this boat. It's my brand used merch brand, and the proceeds from t-shirt sales will help continue the build of this boat because this thing is expensive and time consuming and huge. Also, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment. You're entered to win a box of Jimmy's Famous Seafood food. Everything looks pretty good. It's all cured up. The next thing is trying to figure out what we're gonna put on here, like bilge paint or whatever. And that is not good. Oh no. It's broken. That's a bummer. All right, so this one, since it's like really hard to glass, like it would be very difficult to lay a piece of glass like that and get it to stick to everything. I just put polybond and then a fillet of polybond underneath this thing up on the backside, a fillet like this. And I thought that that would hold fine, but see that gap? The polybond cracked and it did not hold. And that really sucks. That was a lot of work. I guess I'm gonna have to figure out a solution for that. I mean, in reality, it's not the end of the world because the tanks will be on it and pushing down on it. So I'll probably get away with it and probably be fine. Maybe I'll try to run a fastener in there. You can drill a hole bigger than the fastener, fill it full of resin, and then drill a hole in the resin and put a fastener in it, or just drill holes and fill the cavity full of resin. That took way too much time than it should have, and it didn't hold. So I think there's 2 of them that are broken. On the sides, it's fine because, you know, I was able to run that glass up. And on this one, I ran it on the ends, but there's no real way to do it in the middle. So the saga continues. And thank you so much for bearing with me through this build. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for everything you guys have done to help me continue this build by buying shirts. And I want this boat done more than anybody. But it's just such a daunting job. I'm trying to get excited about it, but at this point, this stage of the project, it just is like really discouraging, I'm not gonna lie, because there's so much to do. I'm trying to figure out how to do this stuff as I'm doing it. There's always a point in a project where motivation is kind of low because it just looks like there's no light at the end of any of the 15 tunnels. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, I'm not gonna lie. Let's just take a look around. You know, the engine's in, but this thing needs 25 more things to get it hooked up. The deck beaming is cut, but, you know, we gotta finish this, bed tanks, put all this stuff in, run rigging tubes, plan out where everything's gonna go before we can stick those in, and then up here, a bunch more stuff, and we haven't even looked at the cabin recently. I'm trying to stay positive. It's just a little discouraging. I'm gonna try my best to get it done, and I really do appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys next Friday at 8:05 a.m.